Good morning, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here with you and to start the new year with Kevin Turner. It is so amazing to see so many people. We had about 155 people who registered for this event. And so we love having people learn with us and grow with us. If we have not had the pleasure of meeting, I am Mindy Stern. I am a career accelerator, which means I help people get the most out of their careers. If this is your first time on an accelerator call, just please put the number 1 in the chat so that I can welcome you properly. So Drew, welcome. And oh my goodness, Julie, welcome. Michelle, welcome. Kim, welcome. Debbie, I can't get you all. Wow. Michael, Steve, Daniel, Debbie, Helen, Paul, Christy, VJ, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope that you'll join us again. We have monthly meetings every single month. I try to provide you with someone who's going to be really meaningful for you, who you're going to learn from. And we'll talk about who's coming up in February in a moment. I just want to give you a little background to the Accelerator group. You see that behind me. We started the Accelerator Job Search Group back in 2020 to give job seekers a supportive community. During the COVID time, a lot of people couldn't get out, couldn't start networking, and a ton of people were being laid off. And so we started this group with a very, very small group of 6, and we met weekly. And I was the career coach for those folks, and we have grown to well over 600. I think we're approaching 700 number now. So if you want to join our community, it is a private LinkedIn group. You are welcome to join. There's a link now in the chat, so you can join the Accelerator group or shoot me a DM, and I'm happy to invite you in. When you join that group, you'll get first dibs on all of my events, and they're always free, and they're happening right now about once a month with always a great presentation. And also, just so you know, this call is being recorded, and we're going to post it on YouTube so that if there's anything you want to hear again, you'll be able to get the YouTube link hopefully by tomorrow, and we will. I'll put that in my post for tomorrow. For anyone who has not worked with me in the past or would like to learn more about what I do or how I can help you, I'm offering a free and complimentary 30-minute strategy session for anyone who would like to have that. Just put your email in the chat if you don't mind, and we'll make that happen. So I want you to mark your calendars, because next month we are having Paul Sakala on February 11th. And that link is now open right now. He's going to be talking about how to craft success stories to ace your interview. Because if you're not able to express what you do or what you have done or what your experience is or how you can provide value to your future company, then it's going to be very hard for you to grab that next job. So join us on February 11th for Paul, and he's going to help us craft our success stories. You'll notice that as Kevin is talking, I will probably be taking notes, because I will grab nuggets from Kevin and the things that you may say, because I'm going to create a post out of it tomorrow. And you get to repeat the things that we've heard. You get to share that with other people. And I'm all about making sure that everyone knows everything as much as they can about LinkedIn, because it's ever evolving. And Kevin is my go-to for all the new features on LinkedIn and all the changes. So I'm so fortunate to have Kevin with us today, and we have made this an annual event. This is his 3rd year that he's heading up January. I think it's just a great way to kick off a new year. I don't know anyone who has as much knowledge as Kevin does and who shares as generously as Kevin does. So I like to call LinkedIn my networking supercenter, because this is where I find people. This is where I connect with people. This is where people connect with us. And it is your best opportunity to meet people around the world. It is just a great place to be. And if we don't know how to use it to the best advantage, then we're not going to have the great visibility that we need. We're not going to be able to connect with as many people as we should. We're not going to hear from people who are so smart, and we have so many great LinkedIn influencers on our call today. I'll include Shelly and Debbie and Jeff as part of those people, and Lynn, of course. So connect with people who know more than you, and you will learn and grow just like I do. That's what I like to do. So if we want to give Kevin a little love, just use your reaction fingers and just say why you think that. Just let us know that Kevin is really exciting. Where are my reactions? Let me see if I can find them. My reactions. Oh, I see some hearts. Lynn's coming up with some hearts. I gotta find them. Excellent. Oh, someone's having a party and Drew's got thumbs up and some hearts. Kevin, they're all pumped to see you for sure. So I'm going to start, I'm going to kick us off because Kevin is known for sharing the newest features and changes on LinkedIn. So I'm going to ask you to put into the chat, how many changes do you think there were in 2024? Just a guess. And then Kevin's going to kick us off with Jeff.
Spoiler.
I should have said, except for Jeff, who's tracking this also, a gazillion. Oh, Brenda's here. Hey, Brenda, how you doing? A gazillion. That's a good number. 170, over 250, over 250, 57. Tony said 500. A lot. Drew, I think you hit it on the head. That's true. It's a lot. Michelle's guessing 324. Regina, 240. All right, we have a ton. Wow. 214. Scott, too many. I wonder. All right, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. You have the floor. By the way, guys, if you want to ask Kevin a question during our time together, we're going to be here till noon. Please use the raise hand feature so I can see you, and we'll get you on camera with Kevin. But Kevin and I talked about so many different things yesterday when we were prepping for this call. There's so much to cover. So I'm going to give Kevin the floor. You're going to tell us what the real number is and start sharing as much as you can for our job seekers to help them.
Mindy, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. You run an incredible group, the Job Search Accelerator. And I love coming to groups like this and really openly sharing. I'm very big on it. Yes, the number for last year was 251 plus. I always put that plus in there because I don't cover things like Sales Navigator or Recruiter, unless I can explain how that impacts us as regular members. So that's just that kind of basic and premium experience on LinkedIn. That's how many changes there were. And I always use the word changes as opposed to new features because people argue about it. Well, that's not really a new feature. That's like an update. Well, it's a change. It's a difference. And that's why we use that term now. And I also call it captured in the wild because we wait till we can actually see it in action. And the way LinkedIn functions, you can never see it first, always, because these features they're going to roll out in 5 waves. Those waves are randomized, meaning one day it might be me in the first wave, the next wave might be you. And so they randomize who they select. They're timed in the amount of time they think they need to adjust them. And then they basically will continue that rollout until complete, or if they decide they don't want to do it anymore, or they got to fix it, or whatever it is, it might stop in the process. Average rollout is 30 to 90 days, but we've had some rollouts that have taken over a year and a half. Dark mode was one of those. No real reason. It's not like dark modes on other sites, but that's one of those things that had prompted me in my process to work with others in the sense of giving them credit if they brought me those finds, right? Because I'm never going to be in the first wave all the time, but somebody in my network is. And so, that's how it functions. So I always give everybody full credit. There is one out there. If anybody sees it, capture it, send it to me. And that is actually called Job Match Calculator. And so now when we open up a job app or a job posting on LinkedIn, it's going to calculate our percentage match against our profile. So something new just started to roll out. I don't have it, but somebody in this group might. Bring it to me, and let's kind of work through the screenshots and everything else we can get on it, and we'll post it and you'll get credit. So that's how we do it on new LinkedIn feature. If you want to join that newsletter, it's right on my profile. Just go down to the featured area and you'll see it there. And so I appreciate it, and share that with everybody. It's an open resource for everybody to enjoy. So
My favorite for this year, Kevin, was the edit function in the ability to schedule our posts so we can edit and schedule ahead of time. That's absolutely my favorite. It's a game changer for me. So
it
we'll all
made,
have our
for me,
favorite.
it made scheduling work, because I was one of those, if I scheduled a post, I wouldn't sleep all night thinking of all the new little changes I want to make. Then you had to kind of blow it up, bring it back in,
Yeah.
redo it all together. The fact now that we can change it and we can add polls into it, that feature became very, very usable for me. I still only use it maybe once a month, but it works. And so,
Absolutely.
those are the kind of things you want to know about, and know how to use them, because there are so many things going on LinkedIn. You don't have to use everything, but you should at least know what it is so that you can make the best choices for you. We're all here for different reasons, different purposes. We have different ways of doing things. And so you want to know, kind of what fits you. And probably one of the areas that I always like to take a different approach to LinkedIn, a different way of looking at LinkedIn. We all kind of know this social good site, right? We get on there, we communicate, we look for jobs, we help friends. It's a very social site. But the social side of LinkedIn makes LinkedIn no money, right? It might attract us as members to be there. It might keep us sticky to the site, but it's not a moneymaker for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is in the database and data sales business. Believe it or not, as a member, we're actually the product. We're not the customer. That's why a regular member, even a premium member, does not have a phone number to LinkedIn. If you get in trouble, you can't call LinkedIn on the phone number because they didn't give you one, because you're not the customer. You are a member. You're the product that they're selling. LinkedIn is a $17 billion annual revenue, right? $11 billion of that comes from two tool sets that LinkedIn sells to its customers, and that's Recruiter, which is almost all of that number, and then a smaller number goes to Sales Navigator. So LinkedIn knows who their real customer is. And if you ran your own store, right, your own retail shop, and you knew that a particular customer buys 65% of everything you've got, makes your business run, you would then stock your store and position your store to service that customer. You would not neglect them. And that's the way LinkedIn works. So if you think about LinkedIn as a database business, then decisions they make more sense. And you can then have a perspective of how to make yourself the perfect product so that LinkedIn promotes you. And once you fit into that zone, that's where things start to happen on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn looks at their database business and basically is using database best practices, right? The database has to be searchable. To be searchable, the data within that database has to fit into categories. There's something we're going to talk about in a minute or two, and that's called market value filters and how important those are. The other thing is, if you're in the database business, you want complete data, not partial data. If you don't fill out everything on LinkedIn, you are an incomplete product. So they're not going to be really promoting you. It's got to be accurate. And so how do you figure out an accurate product within a database like LinkedIn? That's where things like skills endorsements and recommendations come in. That creates the ability to measure the accuracy of the data. And the other piece of it is timeliness. If you were selling data to somebody, if I had let's say an email list, and it was collected 15 years ago and I wanted to sell it to you, would that be as valuable as an email list that I just created on data that's only a week old? Which one would you pay more for? You would want the one that's timely, right? Timely, accurate, complete. And so those are the kind of things that LinkedIn is looking at. And the next piece, with all these components, LinkedIn can actually create rankability in its search results. So you always want to think about rankability like when you go to Google, right? If you type in a search to Google, how often does everybody get past page 2 or 3? Most people don't, right? They might even go back and do a new search before they'll go to page 4. Well, the system within LinkedIn is working the same way. When a recruiter or somebody using Sales Navigator goes in and does a search, they're going to look at the first couple of pages of results. They're not getting down to page 50, page 150, page 200. So you want to make sure that you're at the top of that rankability. The way you want to focus that is that it gets you to where you want to be, right? So we're all on LinkedIn for different reasons. You want to focus what they're going to rank you on based on where you want to go. And so those are, kind of the way I like to look at LinkedIn, and the way LinkedIn will start making sense, I think, to most people. I hope that fits where everybody is. I would like to go to do a screen share to pull up
Absolutely.
my profile so that we can go into what we call these market value filters. And because that's a big concept. Very few people have it right out the chute. So let me start there. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Oop, I can see Daniel Hall there's trying to message me. I can't do that right now, Daniel. So this is our basic profile, or at least it's mine. Market value filters. There's actually a few here in the top card, but I'm actually going to drop down into the experience area because it's easier to understand. So as I go into experience and I do an edit, right? I'm trying to set myself up as this perfect product. And as I edit components of this, the first thing I notice is title, right? If I wanted to put Ninja in here, guess what doesn't pop up in the drop-down box? LinkedIn Ninja, because that is not a market value title. But LinkedIn Learning Instructor, Online Instructor, those are things that are market value filters. So, that's a component. That's your first market value filter is titles. A lot of companies create titles for individuals that I think they obfuscate the titles. They come up with ridiculous titles so that nobody can steal you away in a database. Learned this many years ago. We did the transition for the head of HR for Yahoo. His title was Cloud9 Navigator. Nobody found him on LinkedIn. We updated the profile to Chief Human Resource Officer. And then in the definition, we put in internally known as the Cloud9 Navigator, so that if somebody were to check, they could check and verify, do you have a Chief Human Resource Officer, internally known as the Cloud9 Navigator? It all worked, and it put them into a category that LinkedIn could sort and then sell off, which then impacts everything else on LinkedIn. So really important. The next one down here, employment type. Believe it or not, when recruiters are looking, they're either looking for full-time, part-time, seasonal, and this is a market value filter that's actually ranked. So full-time is a better product than seasonal unless you're just looking for seasonal. So this is actually ranked. If you put in part-time, you're lower on that rank process, right? And so important to know that. Believe it or not, companies, they are market value filters as well. If I accepted this, right, you see this black and gray, 3 shades of gray kind of building block is what they call this. That means it's not attached to a company page. That is a market value filter in the sense of attaching to that company page. If I select one from the drop-down box, which is my company, clicking on logo pulls over, now I'm attached to a company page. This is that verification that my information is complete. What LinkedIn gets from this is I'm employed, and majority of recruiters, and this is that a recruiter who can afford LinkedIn Recruiter, which is $1,000 a month for one seat. Majority of those recruiters are paid to go steal you away from the competition. So being employed is important. So one of those things, if you think about it, if you want to be that perfect product, don't end date your last job in the sense of leaving a gap open. Fill that gap with something. join a temp agency. They have them all the way up to interim CFOs, right? So all levels. Find the temp agency, join it, whether they send you out to work or not. You're now employed, hit full time because you're searching full time as well. Make that a top product, right? Same thing, you go into months, location. Now, this one is amazing because LinkedIn has changed its location database over the last, I think, 5 years. They've changed it 4 times. So this used to be Dallas, and it was like this. It was a /. Well, if you selected that a couple of years ago and it's still in there, when a recruiter does a search for Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, they don't find you because you don't exist there. So you want to, again, take from the drop-down box, right? Locations are the same thing, on-site, hybrid, remote. We got to think about, as approaching this market, companies, they'd love to have you on site, most of them, right? Some of them only do remote business. Most of them will be excited if you're hybrid, right? Because it shows that you can do both. So know that this is a selection that can limit your searchability, but if you only want to be found for remote jobs, that's the only one you should select if that works with that current position. So, that's a good way to look at these things. The ultimate market value filter is our skills, right? LinkedIn now says we can add up to 100 skills. The same thing happens with skill. As you're typing it in, it's going to give you a drop-down box. These are the market value filters for skills. If I just selected it as it was here, it wouldn't actually count. If I select it from the list, I'm now in the filter. So really important to do that, to take these from that list. And sometimes you'll find, whether it's titles or locations or skills, you might find that multiple things are in that drop-down filter, and you go, well, which one is more important, or which one should I use? Use the one that's most popular in use. So, cloud probably is in here. Cloud computing, maybe software as a service is more popular. Best way to kind of figure out that skill, that market value filter skill, is to go to the job listings and see the jobs that you're interested in. What are they listing as skills, right? And that'll help you define what those are. And you might put in both. You might put in cloud and SaaS and be set for both. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's why LinkedIn expanded it to 100 from 50. So just a way to look at this. Now, what's interesting about, let's see if I can actually delve in here. What's interesting about skills is, if I say I've got business development, right? That's just me saying I have it. It really doesn't mean a lot until somebody else says I have it. And that's that skills endorsement, right? So this is a market value filter that is energized or multiplied by endorsements. So if 50 people came and said, yeah, Kevin's got business development, and I'm competing, let's say, with Jeff Young, who's got business development, and he's got 150 people saying he has business development. When they do a search, Jeff's going to be on the top of the search. I'm going to be a little farther down. So getting endorsements is critical in this particular market value filter. And one of the best ways to do that is to give them, right? Go to other people's profiles, give them the skills they have. Don't give them ones you don't know, or that you don't know those skills themselves or the individuals. Give them to the people that they have those skills. They'll normally come back and give it to you. You can even arrange what I call a skills party, right? Get 100 of your best friends and say, hey, would you come to my profile, give me every skill I have? And I will come to your profile, whether you do it or not. I'm going to give you every skill I know you have. Skill party, right? And this will ramp that up. And believe it or not, you will notice an increase on profile visits, especially from recruiters. So huge way to kind of turn this market value filter on and working for you. So, really big in that sense. But that's what market value filters are. I'm going to discard these changes. because I don't even remember what I messed with on my own profile. And, the same thing goes on up here in the top card. What is interesting in here is industry is a market value filter that's actually assigned by the company you either work for or last worked for. Let's say you're in human resources, but you worked for an automotive dealership. The industry would be automotive dealership. Is that your business or is it HR? So you could actually go back and retype in human resources, take it from the drop-down box, and now you've kind of overridden your profile to open those opportunities outside of the industry that you were functioning in during that last job. So some of these can be tailored. Same thing in, location. If I actually put in a zip code, this should actually open up. So you've got the choice of Dallas or Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, or I do. Always go for the bigger net, because the job opportunity might be in Plano or might be in Fort Worth, and I'm willing to make the drive. Take the bigger Metroplex so you show up in more search results. And again, making yourself a better product. So that's some of the market value filters that exist. Now, the one that I noticed most people make a mistake on, if you have certifications or education, what most people do is they move through this way too quickly. Maybe they just typed in, BBA or Bachelor of, or, associate, and they accepted what they had typed in, but they didn't look at the drop-down box. If I save this as it was right now, and somebody was searching for me, and they had the location and the skills and the job title, and they said, you must have a degree or you must have PMP, right? But I didn't do PMP from the drop-down box. They wouldn't find me because LinkedIn doesn't know.
I just want to let you know, I put the ice arm down because I'm using ice during the day. I like
Hi, everyone. Can we
in the
please
glass,
mute?
so I'm almost out of
Hello?
the ice bin. So
Can we mute, please?
I thought we were getting raided by ICE.
Someone's helping someone with the ice arm. Okay.
Me
Thank
too.
Not again.
Oh no.
So again,
Thank
this
you,
is getting
Stan.
this correct so that we show up within the database as real. When we don't take that drop-down box, LinkedIn looks at what this would be, right? They look at it and say, well, maybe he has a degree, maybe he doesn't. So am I going to put him at the top of the list or the middle or the bottom of the list? I'm going to put you at the bottom of the list because it's not complete data, right? You're not using that component of being searchable within LinkedIn. So you always want to select, again, what's in that drop-down box, even in here. If you remember, it was marketing, management, and general. Well, if you start typing that in and it gives you that option, take that option, because that is what the actual school and LinkedIn got together and they agreed in the database, this is what it is. So accept it, because it's not going to move you forward. Now, this is outside of that market value filter, and this is somewhat controversial, and that is about being accurate and complete, right? If you do not have your graduation dates, and people will say, well, if I put my graduation date, they're going to know how old I am, right? Believe it or not, in the digital world, they already know how old you are. You're not going to avoid them. But what will happen if you do not put the graduation date in here, you will not be served to recruiters who say must have a college degree or must have a certification in, because the date is missing, it's incomplete. They won't serve you to that recruiter. So, and if they did, they would serve it at the very bottom. But my understanding is it doesn't show up at all. And I get to test recruiter every now and then. I've actually got a video on my LinkedIn, my YouTube LinkedIn channel that goes through all the screens that recruiters see from the other side. And you can kind of go in there and see it from the other side so you can see how these things function. But again, skipping this date doesn't protect you. What it does is it basically keeps you out of recruiter searches that require that education or that certification. So know that these are some of the bigger mistakes I see in that area. And again, it's back down to these market value filters.
Kevin, I'm going to ask a question that I know everyone's thinking
Yes.
about. You mentioned that the market value filters change periodically. And so what would you recommend? How frequently should we go back and look at ours to make sure that they are still accurate?
Yeah, what they're normally doing is they're adding them, right? So if something new comes out, they're going to add it in. So rarely do they delete the old ones. The issue with that is if we're using an old term, right, is it going to do us any good to be found and move forward? So when you know a term is no longer being used in the job descriptions, you might go back and say, well, I can leave it there, and that's fine, but I want to use the latest term for that. That's when you should go back in and check it. So you don't have to go and check these things a lot. Just know if you notice you're using a term, it's not being used, it's not being picked up in the job search, then it might be time for a new term, you know. And if you're maxing out at 100 and you've got that term that's so old, go ahead and get rid of it so you have space, right? People will always say, but I had 100 people say, you know, they endorsed me for that particular term, and it's cobalt coating. Well, nobody does cobalt coating anymore. So what is it really doing for you, right? That's the kind of question you have to ask at that point.
Gotcha. Looks like we have a question from CD. CD, do you want to unmute yourself and ask Kevin a question?
Yes, thanks, Cindy. Quick question on the dates for your education. If you don't want those shared from an age perspective, how do you address that? Because I specifically don't have that on there for that reason.
I mean, if you leave it off, you just have to be aware that if you want recruiter contact, they're not going to be in the search result for you unless they discover you by accident. Maybe they went to a page of somebody similar to you, and then they saw on the side, you know, you might also look at these profiles. They probably won't discover you in that process. So by removing it, you make your data incomplete and not accurate, and therefore they push us down as product. Some of this stuff I hate that it exists, but as the Marines say, you can't win the war until you understand the battlefield, right? And this is our battlefield. This is where we're going to go down or we're going to win. And so we kind of almost have to say, well, if that's what it is, I've either got to do it or I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to do it. But you got to realize then that puts you way behind. So that's the way to do it, is to get it out there. And they already know how old we are. You know, it's not hard to determine.
Kevin, can you go to the, we have another question from Michael, but I'd like to go to what recruiters see. We had talked about that yesterday a little bit. Let me call on Michael and then we'll get to what the recruiters portion of this, because I want to make sure we get that in. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, did you have a question?
Thanks, Minnie. Hey, Kevin, this is really helpful. Question
Great.
for you. On the school, what if you have a major like finance and marketing? Can you put more than one on the drop downs? That's my question.
Absolutely. If it's a dual major, you put that in twice, right? So
Okay.
you would do one for marketing and one for finance.
Okay.
So if it
got
was a dual major, that's the best way to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Michael.
And believe it or not, GPA, if you had a really high GPA, putting it in there is within LinkedIn Recruiter, they can actually search by, okay, we want somebody who has this degree and has a GPA for, 3.2 up, whatever it is. They do search by GPA as well. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I didn't know that. Cool. So what do those recruiters see? And they have that magic filter, right? So what do they see that we should know about?
And you know, it's interesting. I get access to Recruiter every now and then. I do some work for a couple of large recruiters who hate technology. And so they call me and say, can you do these searches for me? Can you understand this? Then I'll do it for them with access from their account. I don't have it today, but I do have a YouTube video on my YouTube, and it's, basically what recruiters see. So you can actually, when we talk today, you can go and look at it and see it. If you're visual like I am, it helps kind of set these things in, but it really shows how a recruiter does a search within LinkedIn, and it usually starts with industry, location, job title, and skill sets. Okay, those are the core pieces that it's going to go out there and search. When it brings those results back, it's going to rank them in the way we talked about earlier, and then it's going to give a little bit more information that we don't really think about. One of them is connectivity into the company. So if I want to target a particular company and I look that company up on LinkedIn, I find out I have no contacts in that company. And again, we go back to Shelly. Shelly's targeting that same company and she knows 20 people there, right? From the HR perspective, if we are equal as products, right, as potential employees, if we're equal, Shelly's always going to be ranked higher on that result because she has more connections within LinkedIn. And so what LinkedIn is doing is figuring if you have many people you know within a company, you are a lower risk for not fitting the culture, right? So one of the things you want to do if you're targeting companies is increase your connectivity within that company, because that shows up immediately towards the top of recruiter results. When they're looking at each individual profile, it'll say Mindy has 22 connections or one connection within the company. So that's huge. Another component is, does Mindy follow the company, right? So if you're interested and you're targeting a company, before you apply, you want to go to their company page and follow them. Now, don't just click follow. Once you click follow, that little black bell will light up, right? It'll be dark black. Click the black bell one more time and get double bell, right? And then you're going to get everything that they put out there. Most companies don't throw a lot out there, but when they do, it's usually very beneficial. But it also signals to that company that you are following everything, not just following them, but you're following everything they do. So really an important thing to kind of do. And then when you're targeting a company, find who those people are that you would probably work for, those people in the top management, and start following those individuals. I look at the way you build relationships within LinkedIn is through connectivity. Now, connectivity doesn't mean I sent you an invite, let's connect. That is not connectivity, right? Connectivity is an interchange of contact points. So if I'm following
Uh-oh,
the
I think Kevin's
CEO,
frozen.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, it must be just for her. You're okay.
If you're following that CEO, right, and you notice that they've posted because you've rang the double bell on their profile, right? You notice they post, you go in and you make a comment on their post. And if they comment back to you or even give you, a reaction, that is a touch point. My rule that I've always used is 7 touch points get you prepared to make an invite. So, and that's whether they come back to one of your posts and, put a comment on that, or they come and look at your profile. That's a touch point. So get 7 touch points. And the beauty of that is if you have a basic account now, they've restricted how many personalized invites we can send. But if I've already had 7 touch points, let's say with Christopher, and he gets an invite from me, Christopher's going to go, well, I know Kevin. Sure, I'll take that. He's been real supportive in the comments and added value. So know that that is a big piece of the connectivity. Mindy and I were talking earlier. I think I was interacting with Jeff probably for a year, Jeff Young, and we didn't even realize that we weren't connected. And yet we were collaborating on things. We were doing stuff together. We were introducing other people to each other. And then at some point we said, hey, you know what? We're not connected officially on LinkedIn, but we are connected. And that part of the connected is more important. Do they know who you are? And, that's when you're ready for that invite. And then if you've got 5, let's say personalizable invites, those are the ones you save to send to a recruiter that you don't know, right? Or somebody that you don't know that you need to get in front of. So that's, I guess, my perspective from what a recruiter might see in that process and how you kind of put that into action, right? And make those connectivities, because those are huge. Trying to think what else I can tell you in that area. I could go into a couple of job seeker kind of skills that most people don't know. I can share a screen and kind of walk everyone through that.
Sure.
Mindy, you got to tell me what my timing's like.
We have at least 10 minutes left. Maybe a little
Okay. Okay. Good. Because you know me, I can go
Good.
much longer if I need to.
You're doing great, Kevin.
So I'm going to pull into a couple things here really quick. And we'll put this link in below. This is called Career Explorer. If you're unfamiliar with this tool has been available for free on LinkedIn since 2013. Most people don't know that. What it will do is it will take your current profile, and when you give it a prompt to what type of job you want, it'll tell you the likelihood of getting that job, what skills are required, what skills you might be missing, and what other options you might want to look at. So this is really kind of a career pivot tool, and it may help you identify it. So I hope you can see the screen. When you get here, try not to go through this process because it's a terrible presentation. Go right to here where it says skip ahead, right? So let's go ahead and skip ahead. So we're down here. You select your location, which is a market value title. You select whatever you want. Oh, it's not using the short end. I can't even spell today. Okay, so I'm going to select one here. So what it has done is it looks at my profile. The first thing it's going to tell me over here is these are the skills within LinkedIn's database of 1 billion plus people. These are the skills that most vice presidents of business strategy have, right? And then they're going to compare it with the skills it sees you have against the ones that are required by the position, right? And over here, it tells you the popularity, the chance of making this transition. So some of the transitions will be up, some of them will be down, some of them will be equal, but it really kind of gives you a perspective of what that is, and it also helps you identify those skills. So here's the skills it knows you have, here's the skills it thinks you don't have or doesn't see on your profile. And again, this is also actually showing them as the market value filters as well. So it kind of helps you fine tune your skill set, your presentation, and what would be a good pivot to another type of job. So that's kind of a fast rundown. I do have a video on YouTube about this. Great tool. So if you're not, if you're not using it, you should. Now, I'm going to jump into one other component here, and that is in job search. If you have premium, you've got a couple extra components that you can use. In the all filters, you have the ability to do has verification, and also people within your own network. And that might be on basic now as well. In your network. So that would mean you have a connection within the company that could introduce you into the process. So two really kind of cool tools to go in when you're doing a job search. So I like that. One of the updates this year is they used to have like a skills match at the top here. Now they've changed it a little bit, but they've changed it in a way you can interact with it. So these are from your preferences. If you filled out the open to work, right? Here's your skill match. If I click on that, it's going to give me this pop-up box, right?
Kevin,
and it'll tell me,
Kevin,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt. Kevin,
yes.
You're still on Career Explorer.
I don't know why it didn't move over. That's terrible.
Just so you know.
Okay, so let me see. I'm going to have to end that share. And that's terrible. Okay, let me do a new share. Don't know why it just doesn't open full tab, but okay, that's not it. Yeah, I lost that one. Okay. Well, for some reason, I've lost the tab. Let me just check up here.
Everyone seems to be loving that Career Explorer.
Yeah, it's an incredible tool.
So funny because it's hidden. And unless you know unless you have the link, it's hard.
Well, and again, it's been around for so long, and that blows me away.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to do this by tab, which is kind of annoying. So this was that tab we were talking about. This is the preferences from your open to work, right? These are the skill matches now. So if I click on this, it's going to tell me what matches it sees, whether it's in skills or believe it or not in the context of the wording on my profile. It takes from both. And then it shows me what's not here. So if I had behavioral sciences and I go, well, I just never put it down as a skill, I can actually click on it and it's going to allow me to add it. And then I can select, what positions I had, where I learned from it, even education, all the way down, projects, all that stuff. So it allows me to add that particular skill. Does anybody know why they want you to actually put skills to job positions? Most people don't. If I say I have behavioral science and I check all these job positions, right? They can go back and figure out how many years of experience I have. If I just say I have behavioral science, I could have started it last week and have 1 week of experience, or I can select these and they're going to count up those job experiences and give it years and months, and they'll have a total number of years. Does that make sense? Again, another ranking tool that LinkedIn uses when they're serving you up as a result. So to me, that's critical to know. And what we showed earlier was the all filters just kind of rolling down. In the all filters, you have the ability to pick up in your network, and fair chance is an interesting one as well. If anybody has a criminal background, you can use fair chance. It'll show you the jobs that accept people with criminal backgrounds. Has verifications. That's a great tool because there's a lot of job scams out there, right? Fake jobs. If a recruiter or the company the recruiter works for is verified, then the jobs will be verified. You can turn on and see just the jobs that are verified, and you'll see that little verified badge there. This is also really important with recruiters. If they know you've gone through the process of verifying your profile, they know you're a real individual, and they're more comfortable with making offers to you, making contact with you. It does increase connectivity because it's really easy to set up a fake profile and they don't want to get bombarded by that. So it does have a connectivity issue. It's really easy to set up if you're in the US and you've ever traveled before. All the information's already been collected. It's through ClearMe. If you don't want to show them your driver's license in the US, there is an affidavit form that you can fill out. You get somebody locally who's a notary. Maybe you show them your phone bill at your house that has your name. They stamp it, say that's you. That's all you need to do. And so you don't have to give that document to LinkedIn if you're afraid they might lose it. And believe it or not, when you get certified or verified, LinkedIn never gets that information. All they get back is a note from the servicer, Clear, that you matched your driver's license. That's all they get. They don't get the driver's license itself. So ClearMe has been doing TSA transport in the US now for, I think, 20 years and hasn't had a security issue. So I'm feel confident with that, but that is where you'll find that in there. I'm going to jump in.
Kevin, there's a question, and I don't know who this is. It just says iPhone 227. So could you identify yourself, iPhone, and ask your question, please?
Sure. Hi, this is Ron Cosmos. Kevin, this is very valuable. Just a quick question for you. If I have 99 job skills, but 0 endorsements, doesn't that kind of invalidate all of those endorsements that I believe I have?
It just puts you towards the bottom of the list if somebody were to
Okay,
look
so
for those
there is a
skills.
direct correlation with the number of endorsements I have and the number of
That's your
skills
social
I have.
proof. Yeah,
Okay.
because LinkedIn wants to give the best product, right? And we do the same thing. If we go on to Amazon, we look for the product that has the best reviews. That's what an endorsement is, or
Got
even a recommendation. So we want to get the best reviews on our product. Make
Thank you so
sure,
much.
again, you have that skills party and kind of ramp those up. I don't know if you're seeing the same screen right now where I've got find jobs with AI, preferences,
Yes.
my career insight. Perfect.
We're seeing that.
This is a premium only feature. I'm not going to go into that today because of time. But this one is called Interview Prep. If you're getting ready to have an interview and you want to be practiced, right? This has many categories and many of the top questions, right? In those categories. So, you can go in there. It's going to give you an overview. If you're premium, it's going to give you some good standard answers that you could use. You always want to make them your own, never use what they provide. Same thing if you Google it. That's what most people do, right? So you can kind of practice these. And what is really cool, if you go into practice, you can actually record a video from your desktop or from your phone, and it's going to give you AI feedback. It's going to tell you that your tone was good, that the words you used were correct, that you used too many filler words, that you kind of fell down in your passion in the middle of this process. But it's going to critique that presentation. And what's kind of cool about that is it'll give you feedback. You can go back and do it again, right? This doesn't go anywhere outside of this particular thing, and LinkedIn doesn't use it in any other sense unless you forward that video to somebody else to critique, which you can do. But I love the fact that it does give you that feedback. We're not going to do it here, but if you see it, try it out, and it's really neat. And it gives you a little more feedback with time. So initially, you'll have a couple of feedbacks like filler words and tone and stuff like that, and you give it a couple hours, and it has even more in-depth feedback for you. And so I love using this tool. This is what I would use before engaging a coach. And I do this. I do interview coaching. Do this so you can be at a better level, a higher level when you get that coach. So then you can then truly perfect it, personalize it, make it your own, and really get that presentation across. But you're kind of going in with a better level than when you started. So I love using this tool set. Definitely try it. And I don't even know I don't think I've saved any, but also have a video on that as well. So that's a cool component to use in here. Career Insights, again, is another premium piece. What else do we want to talk about?
I think we're coming towards the end of the time. We have a question from Tammy. Tammy, you want to unmute yourself and say hi?
Hi, Kevin. Not a question, but a comment. I attended your masterclass and I replaced the pipes in my headlines, and I now appear in about triple the number of search results as before.
Fantastic. And that's one of those strange things when we talk about database best practices, right? That standard pipe signal is basically a database command that says take this or that. So if we said we are marketing pipe sales, we're actually telling the process to take one or the other, but not both. So if a recruiter was going in there and said, I need somebody who does marketing and sales, it would only see you for one of those. So your ranking on the list would be lower. So you got it right, Tammy, and I'm glad you shared that because it has a huge impact. And we don't really think about those things when we're building within LinkedIn because LinkedIn doesn't always tell us everything.
Thanks, Tammy, for asking a question. We have another question from Ariel. Go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that because I wasn't in your master class. So are you saying we should take the pipes off? And if so, what would we use instead?
Well, and I'll show you, let me see if I can I'm going to grab my own tab here, and I will show you what I do, which has the same effect. So I don't know if you can see my profile right now.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. You can see here I've got what looks like a pipe, right? It technically isn't. It's an emoji, and you can get emojis that look exactly like a pipe. I like this one because it looks like little screwdrivers, and I use sharpest tools, right? So it fits. It's an image. But if I were to use that pipe, if I go here and edit, I always mess up my own profiles. If I go in and put the pipe in, which is that one right there, right? So if I were to do that, you can now see the pipe there instead. If somebody were searching for somebody who could do branding and LinkedIn, my profile wouldn't be top ranked. It might not even be in the search results. So I have
So
to go
besides that bat, baseball bat or whatever it is,
back.
you-
Screwdriver is what I think it is.
screwdriver, can you use a star? I mean, what else
You
can
can use any emoji you like,
but no pipe?
but no pipe.
Okay.
The other
Kevin?
thing is don't use plus signs, don't use negative signs, because those are also database commands. Don't use equal signs. So emojis are great and commas work, right?
I'm using diamonds, blue diamonds. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but no pipes. Got it.
Again, that is an emoji. It has no effect on how the database sorts things.
Got it.
Kevin?
Yes.
Excuse me. Trying to explain that to our clients. First of all, I just tell them to copy it right off of my profile. That little sci-fi pipe. Somebody told me that's what it was called. I don't know where they get the names.
It's got an odd name. And I think that might be the right name for it.
Isn't it basically a graphic versus a symbol? And that's why
Well,
it's
a graphic
blocking the
versus
search
a
engine?
font. So the pipe is a font.
Oh, fonts. Okay.
But the font becomes a database command when the internal search engine runs.
Okay, great.
And it only affects if somebody says, I want this and that pipe is in the middle of this and that, because the pipe is saying, no, you can only see this or that.
Right. Okay.
Now, if they typed in, I want this or that, they might get you. So it's different in that sense. And I am going to, let's see if it'll take this. I just threw in all my emoji pipes that I have. So there's a group of emoji pipes. You can copy those, you can use them.
Where are they?
It won't mess up your database. I just threw it into chat.
In the chat.
It's not, I don't see it. Okay.
Yeah, they're in the chat.
No. Not showing up.
I don't see it in the chat either.
Ah.
Wait a minute. Oh, I'm on the Zoom meeting chat. Two different things. All right.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it shows up, but I will go back and share that. I can send it to Mindy. She can share it.
Sure.
But yeah, there are, and you can look up emoji replacement for pipes.
Kevin, you sent it to just Lori. That's why it doesn't show up. Private message to Lori.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? I don't want to take over the time, but I don't want to leave anybody hanging.
I'm going to ask a clarifying question. You were talking to one of our guests and you said how important endorsements were.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I understood what you said. Did you say that endorsements are more important than recommendations in the ranking?
They're easier to measure for LinkedIn. So in that sense, they are more important. So when you get a written recommendation, they just count it as a number, right? When you get an endorsement, they count it as a number. And if it comes from somebody who's highly endorsed for that particular skill, it's like a multiplier. It's like a 10x multiplier.
Gotcha.
And that's when they actually say, you've got X amount of people endorsed you and 10 are highly, skilled at this particular skill. That's that multiplier that will really take you up the list.
Gotcha.
Which, gives you a way to kind of figure out, if I want leadership, right? I'm going to find people who I know have leadership, that I can give them leadership. They might come back and give me leadership. And because they're highly endorsed in it, that's going to multiply the ones you get for leadership. I hope that makes sense.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's all algorithms, which are just math, right? And we just need to beat the math sometimes.
This is amazing, Kevin. It's been so great having you here. You'll see everyone in the chat. Lori has just listed a whole bunch of resources that Kevin has provided. Kevin, if you could stop your share, we'll be able to see the chat just to drop better. That would be great. There we go. Beautiful.
Yay.
And so now everyone can see the new pipes that Kevin put in there and Lori shared with us. And there's a ton of great resources that are in the chat. As I mentioned earlier, make sure you save the chat because it's just valuable, really valuable information. And also tomorrow, check out my post because I will be having the replay on my YouTube channel, and you have a lot of Kevin's YouTube videos in here that you can go back and really reinforce the learning that we got today. So grateful to Kevin for everything he knows and everything he shares. He's so generous with his share. Thank you to all of the people who are here who have been participating. I've seen so many people in the chat helping others, answering questions, Jeff and Debbie and Brendan. Thank you all so much for being here. Shelley, thank you for being here, and make sure that you join us next month to learn how to create you great stories for interviewing. Kevin, again, can we ask you to come back again, please? I see a lot of requests. Yes, if you would like Kevin to come back, please raise your hand or do something to let Kevin know, to show the love for his being here today and sharing so much great information. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I wish you all a fabulous 2025. Keep learning, keep growing, and always ask questions. We're here to help for sure. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best day ever.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Kevin, it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll exit back to work.
Mindy, would it be possible to get this chat? I'm sorry. I am not able to save this chat.
I will make sure that I get the chat. Who is that needs
this?
it?
Parul Patel.
Parul, okay.
Thank you.
Saving the chat. We'll get it over to you. Thanks,
Thank
Parul.
you so much.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you. Thanks. Bye.